Welcome back to another week where we are going to spin the wheel and do our Transformational Truth Riff Off. We just want to welcome you to this expectation-free space where you get to come as you are. There is an open invitation just for you to journey with us into the heart of transformational truth, which is where Rochelle and I spend just a great deal of our time as we are navigating our own things, our own hopes and dreams and journeys as we are just navigating life. Rochelle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you for asking.
We are excited to be able to spin this wheel with you. So the way that it works is every week when we do one of these, we spin a wheel. It has lots of different topics on it. If you have not had a chance to contribute a topic to this, we would love for you to click the link below, join our Facebook group where all of the magic happens after we spin the wheel. We dig into these topics there. But we would always love to hear from you if there are topics that you would like for us to tackle. A lot of these topics just come from things that we are experiencing and living and walking in our own lives. So I know that Rochelle and I really enjoy bringing this to everyone. And when we look at this beautiful wheel here, it is filled with things that we've experienced and we've lived, but we haven't done any research. We haven't done any prep for this. When we spin this wheel, you get our real, very raw, very in the moment reaction. So are you ready to spin it, Rochelle?
I am so ready. So ready.
All right. So this week, or for the next couple of weeks, it looks like we are, oh God, I can't. It looks like we are working with being on the fence.
I'm gonna let you start this one.
Why? Because I'm living this? Because I literally sent you messages last week about, oh, okay. So being on the fence, I feel like this is something that we've all experienced at different points in our lives where there just are a couple of things that we're taking a look at and we haven't decided, which side we want to land on. And this is less about, when Rochelle and I put this topic on the wheel, this is less about being on the fence about some of the things that are happening in our world right now. It's more about being on the fence within ourselves, being on the fence with our own journeys and where it is that we're going. And so right now, what I can share is that I'm on the fence because I have two really wonderful things going on in my life right now. And I had messaged Rochelle last week. I actually got a chance to visit her in Colorado. We actually intended to make this podcast in Colorado, but just time got away from us. But we are really, really blessed because we are able to be a part of this startup publishing company, Wildly Free. Rochelle and her husband, James, launched this. I am lucky enough that I got to be a part of it, and we got to really dig into it last weekend. Well, I'm also a teacher, and I love teaching. There's so much that I love about teaching, and I feel like I am just a me that's living in two worlds right now. I am a me that gets to live in this teaching space where there is so much fulfillment that I get out of it. I love being with kids. I love the high-paced nature of it. I don't know. I love everything about what I get to do in that space. And then I get to go to Colorado, and I went there for the second time. If you've watched our series of podcasts, you know that the trip that I took there in July just totally changed my life. And I realized that Colorado is a second home for me, and it's a place that I really want to be. And the energy and the space that I get to be in when I'm there and we're working on publishing books and talking to clients and doing all these things and just dreaming, the way that Rochelle gets to live her life is just very different than the way that I live my life. And so I feel like it's just the tale of two sides of me right now. And I'm not going to run away from the fence, I think is what is like on my heart right now. Like, it's okay for me to cultivate and nurture both sides of me in this moment and just be really open to where I'm going to go, because my fence at this moment, there's not a bad side. There's not a poor decision, but I want to stay open to whatever is next for me. And looking at that, I don't know, I think a lot of people can get really uncomfortable when they're on a fence, and can get a little edgy or a little anxious, a little nervous. I think people, and I would include myself in that category too, I think people love certainty. They love security. They love, I don't know, predictability. And when you're on the fence, there is a lot less of that. So, but it's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. I don't know, Rochelle. There's all my honest initial thoughts for you. Tell me where you're at on this.
As usual, I'm always on the other side
I know.
of all of that. And predictability, certainty, all of those things that you just mentioned are never a part of my life.
Yep.
And so I don't ever sit on that part of the fence or feel like there's a gap that needs to be filled or anything. So
Yeah.
I love that we're able to give people completely different perspectives on everything because, we always celebrate our similarities, but we have so many differences that I think makes these spaces so special. And for me, my fence is how my life is shifting.
Mm.
Being a mom for 17 plus years, being in this like space where one of my kids has graduated, already been accepted to college. So for me, my fence is my identity.
Mm.
And then like his twin sister's about to wrap up, in the next few weeks, her high school career and what are her next steps. And I'm kind of grateful that they didn't do it together because I get to sit in separate spaces with each of them. And I'm a homeschooling mom. So like so much of my identity has been about my kids. And
Mhm.
just the thought of like handing over that control to the world, the outside world. I've been protecting them all of these years. Um, Whether anybody agrees with how I've done it, I don't even care. But I feel like it was best for us, for
Yeah.
our life situations. And the thought of like being supportive while being terrified at the same time has been my fence. And um, trying to encourage, like, go out of the nest, fly, little birdie, but like, I'm here if you change your mind. I don't know. Like, I'm really trying to not have my own biases
Yeah.
in this situation. So my fence is my identity. And I feel like it's been so beautiful with transformational truth and wildly free, like how everything is falling into place because as my capacity opens up, I'm
Mm.
able to receive the changes of transformational truth group, the wildly free business, all the things. And so it just really kind of parallels my life that nothing in life is permanent except
Mm.
for change. And so, and I love to be occupying the spaces of both sides of every fence that ever comes in my life. I picture like a fence that has like a bench on the top.
Oh, I love
I
that.
can't with like ladders on both sides. I'm all about like imagery. And sometimes I just like to go up there, make space just for myself to perch and look at both sides. And that's where I feel like the transformation happens because I don't want to clearly define that the transformation will only happen on one side or the other,
Mhm.
but that I'm going to make space on this side for transformation. And when I need to shift, I can go up, perch, reflect, and I can then go to the other side. Or maybe I need to go back to that other side multiple times more than the other side. I don't know. That's just kind of like where my brain is going with like the image of what does my fence look like.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think it's acknowledging just the two, there are two sides of us, right? And really just say that there's two is an understatement because we know that there are many. But it makes me think of a handful of weeks ago when we did our episode on demystifying discomfort. And so if you haven't had a chance to take a look at some of our other episodes, we'll drop that um, link below too. But it just makes me think, I think a lot of times when people are faced with something like, who am I if I'm not a homeschool mom of four, right? Or who am I if I'm both a teacher and an author and a writing coach and editor, or who just I even went through it this summer with, my hiking side of things. Like I discovered this whole love of me and had to figure out like where does that fit within me. And I think the fence tends to be something that we avoid because we like to, I don't know, we like to know things, and like we already talked about, for certain, or we like to feel really grounded in who we are, and it's okay for that to change. It's okay for things to shift. Like you said, that's the only constant that there is. And so I'm really excited to see what comes up in our Facebook group as we're digging into this topic, because I think that there are a lot of people who maybe even spend some time pretending like there's not a fence, and that there isn't a couple of different sides to things that they're looking at. And I think it's an important reflection point for people.
Yep. And you can always put a door on a fence. And windows.
You're right.
I just feel like we need to just put it out there. When you go to listen to this, maybe take a few minutes and grab a piece of paper and draw your fence. I don't know. I feel like that just, draw, like, what does your fence look like? What color is it? Does it have doors? Does it have windows? I think of that show, and now I can't, Home Improvement.
Home Improvement.
Where they talk over the fence, and that was like both of their safe places.
Mm-hmm.
But you can never see, what was his name, Wilson.
Face. Yeah.
You could only see like the top of him.
Yep.
And that, I could go so deep with this fence thing because there's so much. So journaling, drawing a picture, sitting in that space, whatever it takes. I'm excited to draw a picture myself.
I was going to say, it immediately made me also think, you were talking about the colors of your fence. It made me think of how I would color both sides of my fence. Right? Like, what are the images? What are the feelings that exist on both sides when we look at that? You're right. There's a lot that's in there. Oh, this is going to be a deep one to unpack in our group. So if you guys are not in there already, please make sure that you have dropped in there. We've been growing quite a bit recently. So we just really want to encourage you, if you would like to share this episode with somebody, if you want to share the group with somebody, invite your people in. It is just a space for empowered women to continue to grow and dig into who we are. And so there's a lot of fences that we might be taking a look at, or leaping over, or perching on top of as we're digging into this. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this week's podcast. We hope that we see you over in our group, and we will talk to you again the next time we spin our Transformational Truth Riff Off wheel. Till next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.